Lisa Rubin is MSNBC legal correspondent and has been watching the trial unfold from inside the courthouse. Catherine Christian spent over 30 years as a prosecutor in that office, Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and they join me now. Great to have you here. Can we start with the moment that with the juror?
Yes.
And the Trump saying something within, in the words of Judge Marchand, 12 feet of the juror and the response. Just take me through that.
So Judge Marchand, after that juror left the stand, essentially, she was being questioned. After she left, and Judge Marchand decided he was not going to excuse her for cause, he said, I have something that I want to put on the record. And that's when he said, Mr. Blanche, your client, while this prospective juror was sitting no more than 12 feet away from him, was audibly saying something and looking in her direction. I couldn't quite make out what it was. This is Marchand saying this. I couldn't quite make out what it was, but I want you to understand that witness intimidation will not be tolerated in my courtroom. Have a talk with your client.
Again, I'm going to do my check-in that I always do, Catherine, with you, who practiced for 30 years in that office. Like, a common thing in voir dire to have the defendant, like, audibly saying things to the jurors?
No, only and I'm not making light of this, only the mentally unwell ones. That's the only time you see criminal defendants acting out, literally.
In that kind of situation.
And then it's sort of, you understand it.
Right. It's someone who for some deep psychological, medical reason, literally can't control themselves.
Exactly.
And that's really the only case.
That's the only time you ever see that.
I will say that having watched both E. Jean Carroll trials, the first of which Donald Trump did not attend, the second of which he did attend, there were some episodes that were reminiscent of what happened today. I don't recall them happening during jury selection themselves, but there were times when lawyers were speaking in the courtroom and he disagreed vociferously with what they were saying. And for demonstrative effect, Donald Trump pounded the table or shook his head or crossed his arms to indicate his vigorous disagreement with what was being said. And we all know how that story ended. None of the jurors were positively impacted by that performance. In fact, there were jurors in that case who I thought were not at all partial to E. Jean Carroll, who looked the other way when her lawyer, Robbie Kaplan, was closing. I really thought that something might happen that we weren't expecting, and yet, unanimously, they found for her. So that's a long way of saying you can't always read into prospective jurors or jurors' behavior just based on what a defendant does in the courtroom.
So I want to start with where we are and then work backwards to how we got here. So as of today, we've got 7 jurors sworn in. Now, again, this is not my thing.
It's remarkable.
It seems to me so fast.
Yeah, Judge Marchand is known as a fair and efficient judge. This is remarkable because this type of defendant, meaning very high profile, that people have strong opinions, this is very remarkable that he was able to, Judge Marchand, get 7 jurors, which means he only needs 5 more for the 12 and an additional 6 for the alternates. He also worked overtime today, Judge Marchand. Courts closed at 4:30. He worked to 5:30. So it shows that we're going to do this by Thursday. And he probably will, unless something happens and, things happen. But I think there will be a complete jury by the end of the day on Thursday.
Now, just to benchmark this, we had a former New York judge sitting in that chair, Judge Kiesel, on Thursday, I believe. And she was looking at this saying, like, I don't know, man, this could be a few weeks.
And you know what? She's a friend of mine. Yeah. There's only one other judge in that courthouse who would get a jury as fast as this judge. Judge Pickles, hello. So he has done a remarkable job, Judge Marchand.
Okay, so the process today, so we already got the 50 who said, I can't.
Correct.
Who are we? It's Donald Trump, forget it. I think is probably the subtext.
And even some more, right? Because there were not people who took themselves out off the top, but came back. And when they were ready to take the jury questionnaire, basically said, I thought about it overnight. I can't do it.
So that's two cuts, right? Yeah. So you got like the I can't do it, then I thought about it for a night, I can't do it. Then you got the people who are like, I can do it. And then you've got this, to me, slightly comical spectacle of Trump's lawyers and legal team furiously checking out the social media profile of these people. And in a number of cases finding, someone posted an AI video of Trump saying, I'm a dumb F word. Someone else on the day that I think the election was declared on Facebook being like, honk that horn, baby. Lots of memes about Trump being a buffoon or bad or dumb being read into court from the record of the prospective jurors. What was that like?
It was fascinating because on some level, some of them you could see really were legitimately struck for cause. So I'll give you an example. There was someone who, relevant to the events at issue here, had posted something on Facebook saying, get him out and lock him up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? That person can't stay.
I think we are all agreed. Like,
Correct.
nope, can't be on the jury.
Okay, and the person with the AI video was the other person to go. But let's talk about the woman with the horn. That woman, when she was brought in for questioning, said, well, let me put it into some context for you. I took that video watching what was happening in my neighborhood because election night felt historic to me, and it was also evocative of the nightly 7 o'clock cheer that we did in New York for emergency workers and healthcare workers during that period of time in 2020. And I wanted to remember it.
Document it. Yeah.
Correct. And she said, I documented it. You know, sitting here today, do I believe that I can be fair? Unequivocally, yes. And Rashawn said, look, I have the power under our case law to take her at her word, and I'm going to. She was struck with a peremptory challenge, but not for cause.
Right. Peremptory means, again, just to remind you, they each get 10?
10.
Where you could just strike people for any reason.
And if Trump is convicted, they will appeal on that they were denied that cause and had to use their peremptory challenge. They will lose that because Judge Merchan, as Lisa said, struck other people and didn't even wait for cause. It just says, you're gone. And also struck people who self-identified that they couldn't be fair. So there is no appealable issue, assuming Donald Trump is convicted, on the jury selection.
Chris, can I point out something else, too, that's unusual about today? Because as a person who practiced primarily in federal courts, I find New York State court voir dire, that's the questioning of the prospective jurors, fascinating because it's conducted by the lawyers. It reads like watching a focus group conducted by two different lawyers, where they're like, here are some themes that are important to me, or here's some issues I really care about. What do you think about that, juror number one? What do you think about that, juror number two?
You know that Lee Greenwood song, Proud to be American? How do you like that song? You like the Lee Greenwood song?
But for Todd Blanche, it was an opportunity to connect with them and to try and get from them, what is your opinion of Donald Trump when they didn't want to give it? And to have to be friendly.
Very interesting. Lisa Rubin, Catherine Christian, great to have you. We'll have you back again soon.